In this video, I'm going to be building some of the most popular movies of all time that all grossed over $1 billion at the box office when they first came out. Starting with one that just scraped over the $1 billion mark and is one of my favourite movies of all time, Batman: The Dark Knight. For this, I'll be building the infamous interrogation scene where Batman finally sits down with Heath Ledger's Joker and things get a little heated. I started with a small square base, adding in the walls and the door on this side, and then framing the window on the other side with more walls. I then built this small interrogation table with a lamp which actually uses a black hot dog piece, which is pretty cool. I added a chair for the Joker, and as I don't have a minifigure for him and the real one from The Dark Knight is super expensive, I used this face that I found in my collection with this hairpiece on top, adding that to a plain purple body and legs. I then grabbed my Batman minifigure, placing him on the other side of the desk ready to question his biggest op. You can see I left a small gap on the other side of the glass as an area for the police to stand, and you can see another officer escorting a prisoner down the hallway. Now, I'm a giant Lord of the Rings fan, and we'll get into that slightly later, but first we have to go to the slightly lower quality prequel, The Hobbit.
What did you say?
For this movie, I ordered one of the most expensive boxes of Lego that I've ever bought. And inside there is one incredibly rare and hard to come by original set, which is the Lonely Mountain. I pulled out all the pieces, but I quickly organised them all as this was a used set that I bought, so everything was a bit jumbled, and then I began building. The Unexpected Journey movie was the highest grossing across the trilogy, and again it only just scraped over $1 billion, grossing about $1.02 billion at the box office. Pretty much the only reason that this set cost me £400 or about $500 is just for that incredible Smaug, which is by far one of the best dragons we've ever seen from Lego. Now, as you can imagine, when I bought this set, the build was an afterthought, but I've got to say it was pretty good. You get this giant dwarven mine with some great play features, and you can recreate some great scenes from the movie, including mining out the Arkenstone and placing it on the throne. And whilst Thorin didn't come in the set himself, I grabbed him from another set, and now we have a beautiful selection of armoured dwarves. The iconic franchise The Pirates of the Caribbean boasts two movies that grossed over $1 billion, but I chose to build A Dead Man's Chest, which pulled in around $1.07 billion. The scene that's always stuck out to me when thinking of these movies is the awesome fight on top of the water wheel between Jack, Will and Admiral Norrington. For the wheel itself, I looked over to my Lion Knight's castle, pulling the water wheel off of that, and then as I only had one Pirates of the Caribbean minifigure being Jack Sparrow, I had to use a Bard the Bowman to make up Will Turner, which I think looks decent, and then I made a custom James Norrington with an old Imperial uniform. With the wheels and figures picked out, I had to build the scene itself, making this small island shape, adding a few trees and loads of shrubs and plants across the diorama. I added some green plates here to show some squished grass, leaving space in the centre to place the wheel. I then posed my minifigures delicately on top, with Jack and James taking their turn to fight, whilst Will is chasing after them to get the key. By far one of the most iconic movies of all time is up next, Jurassic Park, and that brought in about $1.1 billion at the box office and continues to amaze audiences up until this day. Now I'm going to go all out and build a giant park, but I started by grabbing this set here mainly for the Brachiosaurus, but I built up the cool Jeep and tree as well, which even includes our second use of hot dog pieces. These are going to be the first additions into our park, which I've began by laying out a load of fences, using these flexible pieces to create 3 large sections along the back. I placed the tree in the corner, building a small waterfall to ensure the Brachiosaurus had plenty to eat and drink. I then built a path that runs through the centre of the park, allowing the public and the Jeeps to get to every enclosure. Again, I added a small water hole to the second enclosure with a load of plants and this feeding tray, as this pen's going to be for the Carnotaurus. I built this small winch onto the back of the Jeep, and now he can lower the food into the Carnotaurus pen. With the space along the front of the park, I built up these wooden fences to divide this area up, with the baby and mother ankylosaur over in this section, and a giant triceratops enclosure in the centre with a couple of other omnivores who can eat plants and drink from the lake. The smallest enclosure over here will be for baby carnivores, which are mostly velociraptors. This range is having a hard time trying to catch all of those with this big net. The final large enclosure is going to be for the adult carnivores, with another feeding platform with chickens on, and plants covering the ground again. Dr. Alan Grant is over here giving a talk to some small kids, and there's tourists roaming throughout the parks with a few mascots and other people taking photos. This one child is definitely terrified, and the mum doesn't look very impressed with the dinosaur scaring her child. This is sort of a look into how the park may have looked if it actually had opened in the Jurassic Park franchise, so let me know what you think in the comments. When you build as much Lego as I do, it can get uncomfortable sitting down all day, and that's where today's sponsor Flexi Spot comes in. I've had one of their desks for over 2 years now, and I'm incredibly happy with it, so when they reached out to send me their new amazing E7 Pro standing desk, as well as this awesome chair, I couldn't say no. The E7 Pro standing desk features a 160 kilogram capacity, individual drive motors for each leg, it has a magnetically concealed cable management which clips on nice and easily to the bottom. Not only is the E7 Pro more stable than other standing desks on the market, but it offers greater value for money, is faster, looks better and is much more customizable. It comes with these extra metal pieces for cable management which you can connect onto the bottom, an advanced keypad which you can set to different heights, and USB charging ports. You can choose from a range of different desktops. I went with the 160 by 80 cm top in maple. And they also sent me their C7 Air premium ergonomic office chair, which I really like as well. So make sure to click the link in the description and check out Flexi Spot, but back to the movies. We're returning to the world of Middle-earth now, as the third Lord of the Rings movie, Return of the King, pulled in just over 1.15 billion. Of course, one of the most iconic parts of the trilogy is the giant tower featuring the flaming eye of Sauron on top, Barad-dûr. I opened this setup to find the new paper bags, which you have about 40 of in the set, and began building. Firstly, you build this giant base with the iconic black spires leading down into the lava. Inside, you'll find a large dungeon with a dead prisoner, with this big kitchen diner on the second floor with some cool Easter eggs, and then continuing up the spire, topping it off with the iconic eye, but flipping around to the inside, you'll find a throne room and a study. This set is just magnificent. But this set wasn't enough for me, and I had to include the second large black tower to compare it to, and so I pieced together the parts to make the Tower of Orthanc, and I had to buy every piece individually, including spending over $50 on this one sticker sheet alone. I like the layer designs again with this one, but it doesn't come close to the quality or detail that the new set possesses, but I think it still looks really awesome. Let me know which you prefer in the comments. Now technically the Dune movies alone didn't gross over $1 billion, but across the two they've grossed around 1.18 billion, and I really wanted to build this iconic ornithopter set, so I opened it up and put it together, and it did not disappoint. There's loads of Titanic in the middle, which isn't my favourite, but it creates some really awesome play features. Now the Harry Potter franchise again has loads of movies throughout this list that grossed over $1 billion, but I decided to go with the movie that ended it all, The Deathly Hallows Part 2, and more specifically the scene at the end where Harry and Voldemort have their final battle. So I picked up this set here and quickly put it together. It's a really cool modular set that can be reorganized into this awesome bridge. Putting it back together, it's time to create the full scene. I had piles of rubble all over the floor, as well as these two big sections of grass that we see in the courtyard. These stairs in the corner were added to represent the scene where Ron and Hermione are being chased by the giant snake, and Neville is about to chop its head off. I placed a few more of Voldemort's followers over to the right, as well as Harry in the middle facing off against his biggest foe. Let me know what you thought of this courtyard. I think it sums it up pretty well. The Mario movie took the world by storm in 2023 and pulled in over $1.3 billion. The only problem with building this is that LEGO have made a ton of sets, but they've never actually made any Mario minifigures, so I turned to the wonderful world of knockoffs, picking up a bunch of these different characters from AliExpress, starting with
It's me, Mario!
Who can be upgraded into Fire Mario, his brother Luigi, Yoshi, who I can't believe didn't feature in the film, Toad, Waluigi, Wario, as well as of course Princess Peach. This big figure of Bowser is a particular highlight for me, and whilst these aren't quite as good quality as LEGO, they still do the job pretty well overall. With the minifigures and a few blocks collected, I then decided to open up this poly bag, throwing away these little scanny features on top, and combining one of the fakes with the real pieces to make the perfect mystery box. I began building this piece of road with lots of different cracks as Bowser has just burst into the real world, causing a ton of damage. I placed him on the left here, guarding Princess Peach, placing Mario, and Bowser has just shot a massive flame straight towards our protagonist, but his brother Luigi is there to save the day, blocking it with the drain cover, and behind them was
No, that's mine!
Mario, and Luigi darted back to grab the star, powered up, and then took out Bowser.
Yahoo!
When I say that there are a ton of Marvel movies that make up the 54 highest earning movies on this list, I really mean it, but I didn't want to do loads of similar movies in this video, so I picked out a couple, including next up SpiderMan No Way Home. LEGO made an awesome set to commemorate the final scene of this movie on top of the Statue of Liberty, so I put that all together. Again, this movie absolutely broke the internet with the return of the 3 different Spider-Men and pulled in a whopping 1.92 billion. And it's jam-packed with almost all of the awesome characters that we see in the scene, all flying around the head of the statue. But then a couple months later they released this expansion pack with the characters that were missing, as well as this big Sandman build, which you can actually remove, and adding that into the middle, you have the perfect model to represent the scene. However, it does leave you with a few extra pieces that I don't really know what to do with. Similarly to Marvel, Star Wars has a load of movies on this list, including The Phantom Menace, Rogue One, Episode 7, and somehow Episode 8, but I decided to build Episode 7 for this video, and more specifically the battle between Rey and Kylo in the woods. I went with the grey border as a bit of a change from my usual black borders, adding in the center section where I'm going to be incorporating a load of different lights to add some fiery lava down the middle of the build. I covered up all of the wires with this snowy terrain, doing the same on the other side, and adding a couple of snow-top trees. I placed in the 2 minifigures either side, and I'm really glad I challenged myself to add the lights as it really brings this mock to life. This is just a taster of my next video where I'm going to be building every Star Wars movie and TV show, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that one. The Titanic held the title for the highest earning movie of all time for so long, but in recent years it's fallen a bit in the rankings. However, it's still pulled in about $2.2 billion in today's money, and comes in near the top of the list. Obviously I could build the giant Titanic set, but 1, it's ridiculously expensive, and 2, I have nowhere near enough space to put it, so I decided to capture the scene at the front of the boat using this old boat hull, which I filled in and plated off on top, adding guardrails before building up the minifigures. I added some blue tack to Rose to put her arms in the iconic pose, and built up Jack with his suspenders that we see in the movie, placing them both on the front of the build. The Avatar franchise takes spot number 1 and 3 on the list of the highest earning movies of all time. However, last year I built another Avatar build based on the first movie, so this time I decided to recreate The Way of the Water, which pulled in about $2.3 billion, putting it in at 3rd place. I loved all the water creatures, so I decided to build a slightly different scene using a load of rounded slopes and different pieces to create a vibrant coral base, and then built up the back section to show that we're underwater, posing this elu soaring through the ocean. I think this goes really nicely next to my collection of every Avatar minifigure ever made. Finally, that brings us on to the endgame of the video. The Marvel franchise had a chokehold on the internet for almost a decade and culminated in this incredible movie, which led to it bringing in $2.8 billion at the box office, just shy of 2009's Avatar on an eye-watering $2.9 billion. I recently turned every MCU movie up to Endgame into Lego, and a lot of the comments were sad that I didn't build the scene where the iconic 3 team up against Thanos, so I'm going to build that now. I built this platform for the center, adding 2 pieces to the sides and 1 piece to the front to give it a smooth circular design. I put Thanos in the back, with Iron Man using these 4 laser beams to target Thanos, and finally added Cap and Thor charging in as well. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments. There are obviously a ton of movies I didn't include on this list, so if you want to see a part 2, let me know in the comments. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on that new Star Wars video, as well as lots more in the future. Thanks for watching, goodbye.